Happy Monday. Do you know what today is? It's a Monday morning. Monday morning. Do you know what today is? It's a Monday morning. And we're gonna see. Anyway, I guess I'm already in my preschool vibe. So I was thinking as I get ready for work today, what can I talk about? Let's see, what time is it even? How much time do I have? I have a good little minute. Woo! Before I gotta put my brain to work. So, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Nikita. I have worked in early childhood education since like 2012. I've been a lead teacher, I've been an assistant director, I've been a director, I've been a instructional specialist, I've been a contracted class observer with Teachstone, observing and scoring teachers' interactions with students. I'm currently a training specialist, and so I love the babies, and I love to love on the people who are in charge of taking care of our babies. As such, I have dealt with so many different types of people, so many different types of teachers, all kinds of ages, backgrounds. Anyone can attest. Right now, I feel like more than ever, turnover is super, super high. And part of this, I think, is because people get into the field, like the preschool, daycare field, early childhood education, and they don't have an accurate understanding and expectation for what is really about to go down in these classrooms. So I wanted to address some of these misconceptions and tell you what really to expect when you get in there. So preschool children or infants ages birth through usually like 4 or 5 years old, get them ready to cross over to kindergarten. And the first thing that I think people don't really expect is how involved you need to be with the children. You need to be really involved. It's a lot more than sing a few songs, hand out snacks, and make sure the kids are safe and that they're like playing well and just watching and making sure that they're okay. Like just supervised play. We're not babysitters. We're not babysitters. I think is it Piaget who said that play is the work of children. And as preschool teachers, we are facilitating what is called like intentional play, intentional interactions. There is so much to be learned from every toy. If your director knows anything about early education, every toy was purchased with an intention. That's a doll baby. You think that doll is just a doll? No, that is for fine motor and finger dexterity. That is for imagination. That is for social and emotional experimentation. That is for making connections between play and the real world and learning about your community. That is for discovering family roles and how to be kind and also to develop persistence. But that is not going to happen on its own. If you, as the teacher, need to be prepared to go in and to play and to ask to introduce new vocabulary, it could be the difference between a child just saying, I want to make the baby stop crying. And then you, as the teacher, offer vocabulary, which is literacy skills. And you say, oh, are you going to comfort the baby? Oh, the baby looks so calm in your arms. The baby was crying. It's not anymore. You soothed the baby. The baby is calm. Now you have a 3 or a 4 year old who knows what the word comfort is, who knows what the word soothe is, who knows what the word calm is. And that transitions and translates over to their own self regulation and then being able to communicate what they need in a moment. Good morning, Skylar. What they need in a moment. Okay. The difference between a child who has no words, who's just raging and tantruming, and a child who can say, can you help me be calm? I need some comfort instead of a child whimpering in the corner and like, and you're like, what's wrong? Nobody knows what's wrong. I can't help this child. This child goes into kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and they can't articulate what they need versus a child who had an intentional preschool teacher with a doll baby say, oh my gosh, you calmed the baby. They can make that connection and say, I need help to be calm. I need help to be calm. And that facilitates a conversation with responsible and caring adults who can help them. All of that from a doll baby. Let's not even talk about blocks. Let's not talk about cars, how that is the framework for math and engineering and science and physics to learn. If they want to build a tower, okay, first of all, we can count how many blocks high and you make it a game. You make it a game. Oh, I can build my block tower 3 high. How many can you do? Oh, yours is bigger, yours is taller. Now we're getting into comparison, size recognition, differentiation. You could take it a step further. Once they learn bigger and taller, oh, does your tower have a greater number of blocks or a less number of blocks than mine does? Do you have more or do you have fewer? These are the foundations for being able to succeed not only in life but in grade school, further on. And then you take it from there. They try to build taller. Maybe they get 11, 12 higher. It falls. Now they're frustrated. They're frustrated. One, you can help them build resilience. How can we solve this problem? How can we solve this problem? But two, new vocabulary word. I think, what if we try with a bigger foundation? Do you know what a foundation is? The foundation is like the base, the bottom. And did you know that if you build a wider, a bigger foundation, it will make your tower stronger and you might not fall? It might not fall. Oh my gosh. Now they know what a foundation is, a base is, and then they have another concept for engineering and whatever else. And they can build higher. Then you can even take it over into their own body and say, it's like with you. Hey, let's do an experiment. You're going to stand up, keep your feet together, and I'm going to nudge your shoulder. You see how wobbly you are? Okay, spread your feet apart a little wider. You have a wider foundation now. I'm going to nudge your shoulder again. Did you move more or less? Were you more wobbly or not so wobbly when your feet were further apart? You're just like our tower. And low key, you're teaching them, maybe how to fight a little bit, but you're not teaching them how to fight. But like, have a solid base. These are skills for life. These are transferable skills. And hopefully they're never going to be in a fight. We don't want to have babies in fights, but we don't know who they're going to come in contact with outside of our classrooms. So that's one, is intentional play. I think I've seen a lot of people come into preschool and I've trained and I've observed and I've given feedback and they've been annoyed. And I'm like, you got to talk to them. You got to play with them. You got to engage with them. They're not going to learn these things on their own. It's not enough for you to see that I hope you have a wonderful day too, Hillbilly Bob. Hillbilly Bob. I'm a South Carolina girl. That name gives me a little bit warm fuzzies. I'm not in South Carolina right now, but growing up there. So that's one. And people will actually get annoyed because they come into preschool thinking that they just get to watch play. They just get to put all the toys out. They get to put out the Legos. They get to put out the toy kitchen. And they just sit back and they make sure that no one is hurt. And when I come in and I say, ask some more questions. Play with them. Get in the kitchen. Even telling them more food. And don't just be like, oh, yum, this is delicious. One thing I love to do, if the kids make me coffee, I say, which is true, I'm like, oh, I don't love coffee so much. Can you make me tea? Oh, sure, I'll make you tea. Then they bring it to me. I'm like, did you put anything in the tea? I like honey in my tea. Do you have honey? Do you have lemon? And again, you're just teaching them awareness of the world. Oh, what cute little emojis, Hillbilly. Like, oh, and what do I need? I need something to stir this honey into my tea. What do you think I could use to stir? And now they're having to think, what do we use to stir? And now they're having to to think through, what do they know from their home life, what do they know from their own experience with food and their thinking, and you're helping them become humans. Functional humans. So play with them, get involved. That's one thing I would say if you want to become a preschool teacher is you've got to get in there. Talk, 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 talk. And there's a study, what is it called? What is the study called? I can't recall. But it shows the difference between students, children who have an easier time in school and in life, have bigger vocabularies and greater literacy skills. One major difference, it's not income, it's not the resources that are available to them. It's not a lot of things. It's not the area where they live. It is how many words do they hear a day? How many words do they hear a day? And especially in this day and age, we have children that are coming from homes where the parents are stressed. They are stressed and they are stretched. Listen, we as the teachers ourselves, that can be us. But when they come to school, it is our job to help them, to help increase that word count that they're hearing a day. A lot of times parents get home, all they can ask is, you want chicken nuggets or mac and cheese? Do you want more juice? Are you ready for your bath? Miss Rachel or Gracie's Corner? And this is not to put down the parent. I believe parents love their kids. That's what I always go into interactions with. But that they're doing their best because they've also got to do laundry. They've got to balance their bills. They've got to think through the groceries. They've got to go through the kids' clothes and see, oh my God, are they having another growth spurt? They have a social life. They might be overstimulated with their own kid. They might be thinking of drama from their own job, and they might be tired, and who knows what health things they could have. And then they know what's going on in the news, at least a little bit, and all this stuff. And so they're just doing their best to make sure that the child feels safe and cared for. And so when that child comes into your center, your school, flood that baby with words, with meaningful words, with nurturing words, with exciting words, with new words. And it can be in everything, even in hand washing. Thanks, Shay Shay. Even in hand washing, I love to say, oh, you see all those bubbles? You're making a lather. Those are suds, soap suds. Now you want to get in between. Okay, in between. Now we're going to rinse. Say bye-bye germs. The germs are going down the drain. Is anybody talking to them about what a drain is? Is anybody telling them what it means to lather? Excuse me, I'm getting a lather in my mouth. To lather, to suds. That's us. We are teachers, educators. E-R-O-R, that means one who teaches, one who You're a preschool teacher. Teach the kids. Okay, I could go on and on about that forever, but that might be my biggest point because that is the biggest thing I come up against. People get into the field of early childhood education and they're just so surprised. And I think sometimes when they don't have the right idea, even annoyed that I keep asking them to talk more and to say more and to do more. But honestly, by the time a child is 5 years old, 90% of their brain is developed. So preschool teachers, we're doing a lot of lifting, On that note though, with 90% of the brain being developed by the time you are 5 years old, your frontal lobe, the front part of the brain, which is in charge of decision making, critical thinking, impulse control, that thing that says, hey, that might be a bad idea. I shouldn't do that. That part of the brain is not fully developed until your mid to late 20s. So you have to remember who you're talking to. And that's another thing that I would say is lower your expectations, not of what they can learn, but of their behaviors. They're going to do things that don't make sense because the part of the brain that helps them to do things that make sense literally does not exist. It doesn't exist. So don't even, when you say, why did you do that? Why would you do that? Unless you're taking it as an opportunity to help them think through and learn a process and gain some of this information, don't expect a real valid answer. They don't know why. The part of the brain doesn't exist. I studied 4 years, and now I teach kindy abroad, earning a lot more than I would back home, paying a third of the rent. Oh my God, I love that for you. It is so hard. That's another reason for turnover. We don't get paid what we're deserved. That is a huge systemic problem that I am hoping and praying gets resolved. We ask so much of these teachers, demand so much, but the pay is not there. And that is not always on the business owners. I'm looking at you, government. I am. I'm looking at you. Put the money where it belongs. This is a huge investment in our literal future, in society. Yeah, can only save $100. And a lot of people can't even do that. It is ridiculous. That's a whole other video. Mr. Nice Guy. I could go off. I'm going to try to stay focused. But yeah, it's bring it back. So yes, back to the part about their frontal lobe not being fully developed. You're just dealing with a bunch of very cute, sweet, curious, but kind of like they're just large babies. They're just babies. They can walk, they can talk, they can sass you, but they are just still trying to figure it out. And one thing that I like to say is, like, you have clothes, you have things in your house that have been around longer than these children. Oh, thank you so much. I've been locked since like the end of 2020. I love it. I appreciate the compliment. And I'm happy you're here. I have a lot of random content. I'm going to try to do more preschool content because it's a passion, clearly. But I talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Lots of cult stuff. Anyway. Yeah, just expect that. Oh, and so with that being said, another thing I say. Children in this age group, I feel like they are dedicated. They like invent ways to harm themselves. And it's because they don't understand. They don't have that executive function. So they're climbing on things. They're twirling scissors during COVID, and they have masks, and we're trying to keep preschoolers social distance, which is laughable. I can't tell you how many students I had trading masks, or even they would like get together and touch their masks to each other. I don't know what that was about, but you just have to keep your head on a swivel. You have to be alert at all times, because it only takes a second for something to go wrong, for a finger to get smushed, for a block to end up in somebody's eye, for who knows what. Like I said, they invent ways to harm themselves. It's like, how did you even think to do that? And so you have to be careful. You have to be extra diligent. Don't leave your purse out. Don't leave your beverage anywhere. Sharp things, don't have them out. Extremely adventurous and curious friends, keep them close to you. Have them be, one of your special helpers, or give them a job. Also, if you are playing with a group of kids and say you're towards a corner, you don't have the kids in the corner and you facing them in the corner and your back to the rest of the room. You sit in the corner and face out so you can see the room. You don't know what's going on back there behind you. That seems simple, but in the midst of things, and you're just trying to get this lesson across, or you're trying to play this game or what, you might not think of that, but try to be very intentional to remember that. I had a kid slobber on a balloon, trying to blow it up, then asked me to do it, not knowing he had previously. Oh no, the balloon touched your lips. Yes. Yeah. Or the wet shoelaces. You go to tie their shoes and you haven't been outside and it wasn't raining, and it's like, why are your shoelaces wet? You just wash your hands. You wash a lot. and then go in with hand sanitizer afterwards. Because what the heck was that? Sometimes I feel like a nurse when I come home. Like I would come home and just take all my clothes off and put them in the hamper right away because what kind of germs are here, or put them in the washing machine. What kind of germs are on me? There's a creator. Is it Nurse John? Is he Filipino? He does so many nurse skits, and he has one or two that I've seen where he plays a nurse and a teacher, and they meet each other like at the bar and they compare stories. And hats off to the nurses. I'm not saying that we are the same at all, but I have some nurse friends, and my mom was a nurse, and there are definitely some similarities, like the thanklessness, not getting paid enough, being blamed for a lot of things, the antics that you have to deal with, and you have to deal with it lovingly, the families. Teachers are made of steel. It's insane. Okay, so yeah, you have to be extra diligent. And there is a phrase, it's called sight and sound supervision. Sight and sound supervision. That means you have to keep the children in your sight and sound at all times. You need to see them and hear them. For older kids, I think 4 and 5, and this is in the state of Virginia. I'm not sure what the licensing is everywhere else, but when they go into the restroom, then you don't have to see them. Obviously, they have a little more privacy. But at all times, you need to see and hear what is going on. So let's see. We talked about interacting. We talked about safety and that their brains are not, the frontal lobes are not fully developed. You want to be a preschool teacher. What's something that I would tell somebody else? You got to move. You got to move. You got to perform. If you ever wanted to be a star on the stage, whether that was singing, whether that was acting, this is your time to shine. You have got to entertain these children, because if they are bored, they're not going to listen. They're not going to watch you. You're going to lose them. They're going to be poking each other, rolling on the carpet, leaving, doing other things. It's your time to shine. It's your time to be a star, darling. My watch, my little Samsung Galaxy Watch or whatever, when I had one, when I was done with circle time, like the morning calendar and weather lesson and everything like that, it would tell me that I was working out, because we were dancing, we were marching, we were hopping, we were clapping, we were pretend hula hooping. Like, don't just count and hop, count and dance, count and roll your arms, count and be a chicken. Tire these babies out and engage them. Make it so fun. They're gonna move anyway. So my philosophy is tell them how to move. Give them a reason to move. And you've got to be active. And if you're not going to be active, it's honestly not fair for you to punish them or be frustrated with them when they are active on their own. Use it to your advantage. Oh, I would have dance breaks, dance parties when I would assign new classroom jobs, which I changed jobs. Was it once a month? So that way they could was it once a month or was it every 2 weeks? It's been a while now. But I just really let them settle into their job so they could learn it really well. So that way when they would change jobs again, they could help the new child who had that job. And they could get used to it. They could learn it well. And so when we would change it, I would play the Kids Bop version of Whoop, There It Is. And we would dance like, oh, we got new community helpers. Whoop, there it is. Whoop, there it is. Like, it was a party in our class. And to make learning fun, to make them excited to be there. They didn't ask to be there. A lot of them probably want to be home with mommy or grandma. So let's make it worth their while, So move. Move if you want to, if you want to, if you want to move, move. Is that Mims song? Anyway, my distraction. Let's see. So we've got talk to them and be engaged, facilitate play, don't just watch them play. Know that their frontal lobe is not developed, and that is certainly going to play a factor into why they do a lot of the crazy stuff they do, and the fact that they move around a lot and will try to hurt themselves, even though they don't realize that's what they're doing. And then you got to move. You can't be lazy. And that's hard on days that you're tired and you're not feeling well. I am not going to lie. That is so, it can be draining, but it can also be invigorating because the dancing and the moving and the singing, it produces endorphins. And endorphins make you happy. And happy people just don't kill their husbands. That's from Legally Blonde. Okay? So don't get concerned. So it's hard when you're tired or you're not feeling well, or you're cramping, but it does help you to get in a better mood. And that's why it's good if you're able to have a co-teacher or an assistant teacher or somebody or a flex teacher to come in. So for the days that you're not feeling so well, they can do that maybe, and you can, whatever. Something else, consistency. Consistency is key. Now, we as adults, well, not all of us, but we might get bored of things, or we might want to switch things up, or last minute changes might not frazzle us. But kids rely on routine and structure, and it helps them to focus and learn when they can compartmentalize and know, like, this is going to happen at this time, and this is going to happen at this time, and this here, and blah, 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 blah. So let it play out. Don't just change stuff last minute. You want to introduce something new, tell the kids about it a few days in advance, keep reminding them, and then do the new thing. Also, if you're going to be helping someone who has some challenging behaviors that we want to work on, and you implement maybe a new like reward system, a new incentive, a new boundary, a new rule, something, let it play out for at least 3 weeks before you decide if it's working or not. Let it play out. There's a couple reasons for this. One, the kids are going to see if they can outlast you. They're going to see if they can outlast you. Because let's be honest, a lot of us are forgetful and we're scattered and we're not consistent. And they know that and they're relying on that, and they can wear us down. The behaviors can be annoying. They can be overstimulating for us as adults. They can be frustrating. We can be at our wits' ends. It's just frustrating. And a lot of times these strategies that we're putting into place, we can feel when we want an immediate solution that, like, it's just not working. Stay the course. They're trying to outlast you. Number two, another reason is they just don't remember that well. How many times does your boss or your significant other or your child or even yourself remind you of a goal you have or a rule or something and you forget? They need to be reminded. They need lots of time to practice. And then what happens is at the end of the day, we've been practicing, they go home and then they have their own rules at home. They go to sleep, they forget, and you come back and you got to reinstate it. And then as you might start to see a glimmer of progress, what happens? The weekend is the weekend. And then it's undone. So you spend all this time, maybe let's say you've made this much progress, then the weekend happens and we come back here. Then maybe you're able to come this far, but then the weekend happens and you're back here. And then maybe you come this far and the weekends happen and you're back here. And so you got to give it a chance. You've got to give it a chance to get better. So consistency, outlast, don't let them win. Which they will win in the long run because it's going to help them. It's going to help them to develop these social emotional skills and ability to, self-regulate and co-regulate and all these things like that. But a lot of teachers get so frustrated with me when I give that feedback too. And they're like, it's not working. How long has it been happening? I understand we want this better right now, but that's not going to happen. That's not how people work. It's definitely not how children work. And their whole lives till now, they've lived in a world where this behavior has worked for them. They've lived in a world where this behavior has worked for them. And we're trying to help them to see without corporal punishment, without threats, without humiliation, without traumatizing the poor child and scaring them and yelling at them and shaming them, without instilling fear. We're trying to help them to see that that behavior is not going to work for them here. So that's going to take some time and some undoing. But I see a lot of teachers, they get frustrated with that. Let's see. And Ricky, Mr. Nice Guy, I don't know if he's still here, but he brought up a point earlier. So this is, you want to be a preschool teacher. Know that for the most part, this is not going to pay very well. And I talked about that a little earlier in the stream. And that is unfortunate. It is not going to pay very well at all. You might come across like some places that are able to pay a decent amount, but for the most part, Champagne, yeah, I've been through quite a bit. Thanks for checking me out. So just know that. I don't know that there's much to say about that. If you want to be here, be here. But just know, like, I hope you're in a spot that, oh no, I dropped my sharpener, that you can afford not to be balling. I don't know. Let's see. Anything else I would tell somebody who wants to come into preschool? Ooh, the parents can be ruthless. But it's because these are their babies. They're their babies. And a lot of times this is their first time. Their first time away from mommy, from daddy, from grandma, from TT, from godmommy. And it's scary. And especially when they're really little and, and they want to be an advocate for their kid. There are all these horror stories about, teachers not doing, not being above board or whatever. And we can't take offense. It's easy to take offense, but like a lot of these moms are still hormonal. Listen, I'm a mother. So not to be rude, but literally those hormones flood you and you are a mama bear. And they just want to make sure, because they're not there. They're out of control. They're separated. They're probably sad. They might be dealing with some guilt that they can't be there and do more. And they don't know you that well. And so it's just hard. It's hard. And you have to be equipped with the language to be able to walk a parent through, this is how it happened. I am sorry. This is kind of a normal occurrence. Because it could be something as simple as the child was walking, they tripped and fell, and now they have a skinned knee. How come nobody saw them? How come nobody picked them up? You called me 10 minutes after. Why wasn't I notified 5 minutes after? And why would it look that bad? And it's just like all these, and you're like, have you never seen a child trip before? They never trip and fall at home. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. And of course we don't say that to them, but just be prepared that parents and family members, you're under a microscope, but because you are dealing with these people's whole world. On that note, also, let me see what time it is, because I do have to get ready to go to work soon. On that note, you will be working with a lot of children who are undiagnosed. Undiagnosed what? We don't know. We're not doctors. We're not allowed to say, don't say it. And don't say, I think your child might have that. Don't do it. You're not a doctor. You have maybe seen a zillion children at this point, and you can tell those behaviors are not so typical. Or, and you'll go through professional development and learn certain things. And it's like, oh, this child isn't meeting this milestone, or this child doesn't respond typically in this situation. There will be some parents who are super defensive, maybe embarrassed, maybe in denial, for various reasons. And we have to roll with that. We have to roll. If their pediatrician hasn't said anything, if they're not even willing to ask their pediatrician, um, we have to roll with that. We love them, we help them, we document. I've had it happen on a couple of occasions where parents will leave, and when their child goes to kindergarten or first grade, they'll call back and ask for maybe a screening that we did, or a documentation, or an assessment, or some notes or something, because when they get to grade school, K through 12, now other teachers are saying things or hearing things, and they'll be able to remember, like, oh, I guess they did have that conversation, or oh, there was that one time they did this screening, or whatever. But sometimes behaviors are not just behaviors, sometimes they are linked to a spectrum of some sort, or a delay of some sort. And we can advocate for early intervention, because a lot of times children who receive early intervention services, they get tools. They get language, the parents get tools and language, and by the time the child is in like third to fifth grade, you would never know. You would never know that they started speaking a couple of years later. You would never know that this child used to lick walls. You would never know that this child, whatever the thing was, because they're able to get tools. Unfortunately, when parents don't opt, to go further with screenings or look into intervention services, it only does a disservice to the child. But we just need to be patient and just understand and know. Don't get frustrated with the parents. Again, this is a lot. It's a lot. You can start wondering, is it something I did? Is it something I didn't do? Am I defective? And I know this sounds harsh and maybe not even PC, but these are real questions that you can wrestle with as a parent. And it could just be hard to hear when you're doing your best. You're doing your best with the finances. You're doing your best with clothing and feeding them. You're doing your best to make sure that they're bathed. Then there's screen time. Then there's socialization. Then there's getting them to school on time. Then it's paying the bills and me being at work and dealing with my own adult trauma. And now you're telling me my kid could have a delay. There's nothing wrong with my kid. Like, you don't know what they're bringing with them into these meetings, and you can just love them and take what you know as a professional, and cater to them the best that you can, and give them tools, because they can learn. They can learn socially, they can learn academically, and we just do our best, and you take it on the chin. So that's one thing to expect. That's another thing to expect if you want to be a preschool teacher, that there will be times you won't know, and you won't have all of the language, but you can tell, like, I think this child needs extra services. But you can only do so much. Who are you? Who are you? What do you know? Okay. But you equip the child, you love on, and you support the parent. And you just deal with those kind of challenging behaviors, and do your research, and ask your director or your assistant director or your trainer or whoever, how can I best support this child? And it could be frustrating. It could be frustrating because you're not the professional who knows how to coach someone through a speech delay. You're not a speech pathologist. You're not an occupational therapist. But we do our best. But that's just something to expect. That's very common, unfortunately. But again, I'm just making this video because I don't enjoy seeing people get into this field and then being kind of like, it's like having cold water thrown in your face when you're like, whoa, I didn't know I was going to be dealing with all of this. I didn't know I was going to have to talk so much. I didn't know I was going to have to move so much. I want to sit down. I didn't know the parents would be mad at me. I didn't know parents didn't want to hear that their child could need extra services. I'm not attacking them. I'm trying to help them. Why would they respond to me that way? Let me just let you know. All of this could happen. All of this could come your way. Anything else? Ooh, do know you will probably work summers. Do know that your center might not be closed if everything else is closed for a snow day. Maybe if everything is closed for a snow day, but just because the public schools are closed, you might not be closed, because if parents have to go to work, they're paying you guys to be able to watch their kids. So, maybe your director will close, maybe they'll do shortened hours, maybe they'll break up the shifts, but just don't be surprised when inclement weather comes if you still have to go in, if lots of parents are working, because That's what they're paying you. They're paying you so that they can go to work. Anything else? Anything else? So you wanna work in preschool. Anything else I can say before I go? I don't think I'll put my hair up today. Licensing inspections. And the crowd said amen. Pour one out for the homies. Your director may or may not be a bit testy on licensing inspection days because it's stressful. Some inspectors can be very nice and reasonable and helpful, and some of them, it just feels like they're on a big old power trip and they walk around with their little manila folder or their clipboard and they're just looking for everything. Hey, new guy, oh, you're back. And they just walk around like they are looking for ways to shut you down, tell you you're a terrible teacher, that you're unsafe, and how are you guys even open, and you should read the standards, and oh my gosh, it can be so stressful. So just know that certain things that your director may ask you to do, if you guys are accredited, it could be an accreditation standard, but then there are just the state licensing standards. And that can be things like make sure hand sanitizer is not out unattended on a table. Make sure your electric sockets are covered at all times. You want no tripping hazards on the ground. And that could be even if you have a rug and it's starting to fray. I don't know how to describe it if you guys know the preschool rugs. Sometimes it's these long strings. I don't know. If it's not cut, they could say that's a tripping hazard. If you have a boombox, a CD player, I don't know how many schools still have those. If you have one of those and it's in front of a wall and not flush against the wall and the cord is out, they might write you down as a violation for that. And you just got to be like, okay, thank you, we'll fix that. And so then like lunch boxes may need to be labeled with a date, maybe a name, first and last name. There's just so many things that are spelled out by state licensing. Yeah, that when you get into preschool, if you're not aware, you could be completely caught off guard when it's like, what is this? What are all these extra rules? Licensing is a thing. So beware of that. But I will also say, so on a good note, because a lot of these have been misconceptions, I will say that you may, or you may not. I was, when I first got into the field, I was totally caught off guard and surprised by how in love, I mean, in love with other people's children that I fell. I'm still Facebook friends with some of my very, very first students' parents. And to see them be teenagers, they're figure skating, they're winning gymnast awards. This might be strange, but last night in a dream, and I don't know if this has ever happened, there was a little boy in my dream that I once taught. And I was like, Tyler? Oh, but he was still young. It's like in my dream, he was maybe just a year or two older than I remember him, but he's totally probably a preteen by now. But just, the cutest big brown eyes, and just remember the stories, and they really become part of you. And it is, if you're able to stick it out, if you find your love, if you find your stride, if you find the things that work for you and the strategies you use, and create your vibe in your community and find your passion and see how the light bulb moments go off as those children make those connections, not only academically, but socially, and they learn how to advocate for themselves, and they learn how to take care of each other, and they even become thoughtful and considerate of you. And by the end of the year, they're such different children than they were when you first got them at the beginning of the year, and you hear them say certain things or do certain things, and you know that's a direct result of of lessons that you facilitated and conversations that you had with them. Like, I just was not prepared for how much this would consume my heart. I have a child of my own. I have a 6-year old, and so that has been cool. Um, that's been really fun and cool. And it's cool how the two collide, your teaching world with your personal world. And my own son, he cracked me up. I said something. Was I talking to him? Was I making a video? I can't remember. And he said, "Why do you talk like that?" And I was like what?" And he says, "Sometimes you talk like this." And I was like, oh my God, he totally clocked me, because I'll notice it in some of my videos, but because I'm used to teaching children English, even though they're born in English speaking households, they don't know the language. You got to teach them all the words, and you're teaching them how to read, and you're teaching them the sounds of letters. So I over enunciate. He's like, "Sometimes you talk like this." And I was just cracking up. I was like, oh, I think it's because I'm used to teaching little children how to talk. So he cracked me up. But then even we were with some friends and something happened. Did he drop something? I don't know. And I was like, "It's okay, baby. Accidents." And he says, "Happen." And my friend was like, "Wow, that's really good. That should just be on a wall in a preschool somewhere." And I don't think I ever said that with my kids at school, really, but it's just something that I do with my son. And I think a lot of us, millennials and older, I don't know, Gen Z, chime in, but you just get scared. You just get scared. You spill something, you're terrified. You break something, you're terrified. You drop something, you're terrified to tell, your parents. I was like, "Oh no, I messed it up. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get in trouble." And I just remember my son, as he started aging, I would see worry on his face if he would spill something. And I felt like that was an opportunity to provide a safe space for him, but also very healing for me. And so, something I've told him for years, um, baby, accidents happen. It's okay. You didn't mean it. Accidents happen. And so now it's kind of a call and response. Something will happen. I'll say accidents, and he says happen. So yeah, it's good for me too. It's good for me. I find when I want to get upset with myself, I just remember accidents happen. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to end on that positive note. I know I talked about a lot of kind of like challenging misconceptions, but just be prepared. If you get in, you might not be able to get out. You might not ever be fully able to leave. I find myself when I'm in public, you know how if there's a medical emergency, people are like, "I'm a doctor. I can help. I'm a doctor. I know CPR," whatever. Sometimes I see a child having a meltdown, um, or having a hard time or whatever, or even having fun, and I want to get in on the fun. um or am I usually live in the mornings? I'm trying to find my flow with lives. I'm new to this live culture, so I'm trying to find out. I might be, yeah, on more, because I get this pocket of time between when I drop my son off and then when I get home before I have to start work. So I might be going live more in the mornings. But tell me what you guys want me to talk about. Sometimes I don't even know what to talk about. But so what was I saying? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I could just want to be like, "I'm a preschool person. Let me play with your kid." It's just so weird. It's just so weird. So I never do. Or like, "I'm a preschool person. I can help this tantrum." Um, but I don't. But I feel this pull. I feel this pull. Sometimes I feel like a Disney princess, as I walk around and kids will like spot me and they'll just like start talking to me. And I'm like, "Can you tell? Can you tell that I'm one of your people?" And sometimes parents are like, "They don't usually do this." I'm like, "It's okay. I'm a mama and a preschool teacher." So, and even though I'm like a trainer now, and I've been an instructional specialist and a director and stuff, I just always say I'm a preschool teacher. I love to be with the kids. I teach the teacher. I just teach. Anyway, that's that. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Again, if you have any questions about preschool, any thoughts about preschool, please leave them in the comments. And if you have any thoughts about what you want me to talk about, whether it's preschool related, cult related, divorce related, music related, parenthood related, um, I just like to yap. I mean, yes and no. Lives are not introvert friendly because I'm an introvert, and afterwards I'm like, whew, whew, I'm drained. Same for me viewing live, so it's a good time. What's your favorite plants or animals? A bunch of elephants, like pictures and statues. Oh, then maybe that's something I'll talk about in another one. Or I could just say now, plants, I don't know if I have any favorite plants right now. The plants in my house, I'm becoming a plant mom. Elephants are nice. Dolphins are fun. I love a good Black Panther, even before the movie came out. Even before the movie came out. I just think they're so sleek and elegant. But so I don't know. Well, thanks, Les. I'm gonna go. I hope you guys have a fantastic Monday and send this to anybody that is thinking about getting into preschool or has got into preschool and maybe said some of these things. So anyway, stay safe, stay free. Every day's a good day to not be in a cult.